Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today we have a queen representing the state of Colorado. She goes by Ruth Lee, CMB. She's an executive strategy consultant. Ruth Lee is a seasoned mortgage industry leader with over 30 years of experience driving innovation, operational excellence, and executive strategy. As the founder and CEO of Big Think, Ruth partners with mortgage lenders and fintech firms to deliver transformative solutions in automation, AI readiness, and operational optimization. A certified mortgage banker and recognized thought leader, Ruth is known for guiding organizations through complex challenges. Her accolades include Most Powerful Woman in FinTech and Women's Vision Awards. Reflecting her influence as a forward-thinking industry innovator, in addition to her professional achievements, Ruth is a sought-after speaker, published author, and lifelong advocate for leveraging technology to shape the future of mortgage banking. You can get in touch with Ruth at ruth.lee@bigthink.com or 303-548-9869. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Ruth. Hey, Ruth.
Hi there. How are you today?
Doing well. How about yourself? How's everything in your world? Hope you're having your best.
You make me sound so great. I was like, I should just send that to my mom.
You're funny, Ruth. Yeah. Well, you have a lot of experience in the mortgages. You've seen all the roller coasters.
I've seen a lot of them. We're getting ready to go through another one, a big one.
You're funny.
I know.
That's the history does repeat itself.
Keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle.
You're funny. I would say. What got you into the mortgage industry, Ruth?
What brought me to the mortgage industry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is going to date me. As much as my gray hair and my wrinkles date me, this is really going to date me. So when I started in the mortgage business, it started when I was working in Washington, D.C., and I was working for a company called Montgomery Ward's. And I was running marketing for these guys on the East Coast. I had about 26 stores under my control, and I was working in marketing. And I'll tell you that they were really struggling to get a lot of their larger deals financed. So, here I am. I'm like, 20 years old. Of course, I know everything. And I was introduced to a woman. She actually runs quality control for one of the largest servicers in the United States right now. And she was like, I can teach you this thing. Are you willing to learn? And I was like, yeah, I'm in. And so off I started in the mortgage industry, did that for a few years, opened my own mortgage company, sold that in 2006, opened a national fulfillment company building FinTech and operational work for the mortgage industry, sold that in 2016. And since then I've just been consulting.
Nice. Well, you sold in 2006. That was perfect timing.
I know.
You can't draw it up any better. So like the 2008, 2009, did that even affect your FinTech in your business or were you
it was terrible, right? So, everybody's like, I'm breaking my arm, patting myself on the back for the wisdom of my exit in 2006. And then we opened in June of 2007. And my largest client who we signed up was going to be Aurora Loan Services, who worked for Lehman Brothers. And in the entire crash that happened in January of 2008, as really things started to hit the digger, they were the one Wall Street firm that was let to go down. And so we and all of our employees and all of our big plans and all of our everything had to do what people do in our industry, which is we pivoted. We pivoted hard.
Whoa. And what would you say was your turning point or breaking point in your journey or career with that?
Well, when all of a sudden we had signed up like 2,000 correspondents to do all of the work for them, right? And so we're hiring and things like that. And I have taken all of my own money, my business partner's money, et cetera. And when we got down to $1,200 in the bank, we have employees, we have people, and it's not one of those things where we can say, oh, it's so sad for me. These people have mortgages and they have stuff, right? And so we had to capitalize very quickly, as well as redefine our entire business set and business model. And we did. And not only did we do that, we did it really, really successfully. I will tell you the thing that if I could tell anybody who is a young person in business, whether you're an originator or not, challenge your assumptions.
Have contrarian thinking. We'll go against the.
Well, I had in my mind that this was the only way that I was going to be successful. Want to know what? We play and God laughs.
That's funny. That's funny.
My whole business plan got, balled up into a nice little gritty little thing and thrown into the round file, and then we started again. But we had minutes and minutes to make those pivots. And all I can say is that if you use the wisdom that you have, and as well as you just don't give in to the negativity, because, it's so easy. And I coach right now a number of originators, and where I see them is they're so easily swayed by the negativity. And I'm like, just absolutely avoid it, because you don't need 1,000 loans. You don't need rates to go down by 2 points. You need 10 loans. If you can find 10 loans, you can start the path to really rehabbing your pipeline. That's it. You don't need to worry about whether or not the world has loans. Just 10. Find 10, you're happy. You can change your stars in 3 weeks in this business.
No, truly, Ruth. So hypothetically, if someone new were to come to you, what would be your advice to them to maybe closing a loan in 2 to 3 months? Like, how does one go about starting brand new in 2025, do you think?
I think that it's going right back to the old ways that we did it. For a number of years, it has been about being a Vanna White. I show you numbers and letters, right? I show you that I can take you from this number to this number, from that letter to that letter. And those really aren't what borrowers are looking for right now. What they need is they need an advisor and a counselor who can help them navigate a difficult financial situation. Because the idea that somehow the way that you're going to be successful is that rates are just going to magically drop this year. Well, that's a way. You can sit around and wait and wait and wait. But for those of us who want to make money in 2025, you put together a plan. And that plan is making sure that you're in front of the right people and you're giving them value. Why is, it seems like it's so difficult for people to really define how they give value. We give value. When I talk to my clients, they know that I gave them the best ideas. They know that I know my business. I know my craft. I know the teams and players. I'm like the fantasy football champion of mortgage banking. You know what I mean?
You're orchestrating.
Right. And so when I'm giving them information, it's not just about the loan that's in front of them today and whether or not they want to put in a pool. It's what do they want to do with their future? What are they doing with their kids? What are they doing with college? What are they doing when they retire? And ideally, we're talking about all of those things, because your mortgage is just a financial instrument. It's a path to wealth if you use it that way, or it's a path to debt.
No, yeah, it's almost a double-edged sword. Yeah, you're truly right. You're truly right. And Ruth, what's like the most misunderstood thing about FinTech and what you do?
Oh, you want to talk about AI? Let's talk about AI, because I haven't even started talking about AI.
Yeah, please do.
A couple of years ago in the Rona, my husband was getting his master's in technology management. And so I was feeling a little left out of the whole thing. And so I decided to I took a course at MIT on artificial intelligence. And my capstone project was really about AI and mortgage banking. And I think that, one of the things that is so interesting right now as we are looking at how this can impact our industry, I think that, you see there's a lot of misinformation. You see some people who are really going down we're all going to die and it's all Isaac Asimov and it's going to take all of our jobs. And I don't see that happening anytime soon. I mean, Alexa was going to automate my whole house. And if I can get the darn thing to just up the volume on my television twice a week, I would be shocked. And I understand that it's getting better, etc. But you have to understand that most of the AI that we're dealing with today, in terms of generative, it's still nascent. It's very early. We're already seeing moves towards agentic AI, and I think that that's going to be the thing we talk about in 2025. I'll stop there.
Can you educate me what agentic AI even means?
So agentic AI is kind of the next step, right? You have the old AI when we were doing with AUS was really about rules, right? Business rules. So it was AI, but it was business rule based. And then we have generative AI, and everybody's like, woohoo, it can make a picture. Woohoo, it can make a poem. It can write a blog. That's all wonderful. It's great that it understands contextually how things work. Agents are really, agentic AI is, and there was a great white paper that came out from Google in September of 2024. Agents is the name of it, and it was their group. So this is all very cutting edge information and very cutting edge pieces. But these are going to be, imagine if you've ever used HubSpot and you have Zapier, or you use Salesforce and it has those automations where it says, if this, then. What if it can learn? What if it can say, well, the last time that you told me that I should look in this place for that information, and instead of it needing to ask you again, instead it already knows to go to that place and ask that information. Instead of it saying, well, I should check an email, or you should check an email, it says, I should really check an email, or even go to the Fannie and Freddie websites and look and see if there are any changes to Seller's Guide. Oh, there are? What impact? Should I let the sales team know? Should I let underwriting know? Should I change the my pull-through ratios for secondary? Should I change the way that we're going to price these loans? It has the ability to think and work collectively with other agents to make decisions and improve. Doesn't mean that people are going to be out. You're still going to need a human in the loop. You still need to have a human tell it what to do and what its goals are, and if it's making its goals. But agentic AI is goals-based rather than rules-based. Does that make sense?
No, that makes total sense. Thank you for clarifying that for me.
Yeah.
Are there any other misconceptions that people have about AI, you think, in 2025?
I think that, one of the things that is kind of a bummer is right now people just think that if they slap the word AI on it, that somehow it means it's automation and AI are in the same ballpark, but they're not the same darn thing. And so, I also think that there is this belief, and I'll tell you a story. Mm-hmm. So back about 20 years ago, I had this guy, and this was right after, actually it was maybe a little bit less, because it was right after the meltdown. And I had this cat from Wall Street come into my office, and he's like, okay, I want to tell you what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to hand you a mortgage file, and I would like for you to just automagically make all of the data come out, and I want you to underwrite it, and I want you to tell me if it was a good loan, and I want you to price it. I was like, I can tell you it still can't do that today. It's so, I think that people have this misconception that AI comes with a wand, but it doesn't. It really doesn't.
No, you totally. It has machine learning. It has to learn. It has to learn.
It has to learn, and it only learns that which we tell it to learn, and it only learns based on and I'm sorry, we have some pretty crappy data. We do. We just do. We're getting better, and our data governance across our industry is getting better. But what I would say is, for people who are in origination, you should really be looking at how you can automate so many of the fundamentally boring and silly things that you do. If you are clicking, there are ways to automate that. If you are making decisions, that you can, but do you really trust for somebody to automate your decision making, to automate the thing that makes you you, that makes you a special and a good originator. No, you don't want to automate that. But if you could automate the clickety click click and, oh my gosh, I have to read 100, I have to read all of this Excel spreadsheet of wonder and might so that I can find realtors that I might be able to solicit, that can be automated.
No, truly. Do you think like us being on 5G and then going to 6G, will that make a difference in AI or not really?
All of these things are going to make a difference. We're already talking about, and they're poking around the edges of quantum computing, which will completely change the way that, for example, crypto, the reason it's called crypto is cryptographically encrypted, right? It's got cryptography. Well, the reason that cryptography is hard is because it takes computers thousands of years to figure out. That's the problem. Or it takes them 5 days to figure out. Why? Because they're hard. When you have quantum computing and it can figure it all out in a nanosecond, that means that they can mine all of Bitcoin today. And that means that it changes the functionality, and there's going to need to be changes in the way that crypto is done, because the idea is that you can't crack and you can't hack the hash. Well, when you can hack the hash, then crypto doesn't have the same fundamental foundational boundaries. Now that's going to change, right? It's going to change, and you can bet that crypto is going to harden its ability because it's not going to wait for technology to destroy it. When technology was the thing that made it possible, they're just going to have to change.
No, that's very interesting how that plays out within the next 3 to 5 years.
Isn't it? No. Isn't it? And I think here in our industry, we're going to see we're going to be moving towards the tokenization of our industry. It just has to happen. Right now, having everything on, and when I say tokenization, the tokenization of the real world underlying asset that is the mortgage, right? Think about that, how you do that. Now it's all securitized, so it can't be a meme coin. It can't be, to the moon or any of that stuff. It's like it's going to be managed by the SEC, right? Which is one of the reasons it's hard, because all of the data has to make sense. And right now, data between origination, servicing, and securitization don't match up. And until they do, which AI definitely makes that a whole lot easier. So now you start to see some of the ways that we really haven't been able to tokenize, but you think about the advantage. And I just, right now, when you originate a loan, you have the originator, they're taking their money. The servicer's taking money annually. The GFI, the investor, they're taking their money. Fannie and Freddie, they get their money every year. Then you have the rating agency, they're getting their money every year. Then you have the custodian, they're getting their money every year. And then you have the investment banker, they're getting their money every year. It's like, people think that the bad people in this are the mortgage banker. Really? Like we work 50, 60 hours on this deal to get it to cross the finish line. These guys just get a rip on everything every year forever.
That's super interesting. I would say they just go after value at that point.
What if you just, for example, for the custodian, just for not being able to park a note at a bank somewhere, just because we pay that. The borrower pays as a part of their fee every single year just for the glory of having a note sit in somebody's filing cabinet somewhere at a bank. Imagine if you take that out. Just that. Start picking out all those little expenses, and maybe we could actually have an interest rate that was close to market rate instead of market rate plus. Hopefully
the system does optimize, and it does help the borrower. It doesn't give them the burden.
What'll be exciting about it is that, if we had the ability to have liquidity and people who, if you wanted to buy into mortgage-backed securities, you would have the ability to do it in the same way that you do on Coinbase, rather than through a 401k or a pension fund or something and having to go to an institutional. Imagine the difference.
Not truly. Like night and day, I would say night and day.
Uh-huh.
If you could change one thing about the industry currently, what would it be and why?
Oh, I guess, in my world, what I would change about the industry right now is everyone's complete belief that we live or die by an interest rate. Whether it's the borrower, whether it's the regulators, and whether it's us. Because right now we are conned. It has nothing to do with the interest rate. I was my most successful ever when I was selling, and all of my rates were between 9 and 13. Mm-hmm. I used to close between 35 and 40 loans every single month, and I did it for years. And the reason wasn't because I was sitting there and we were all talking and crying in our beer about how the rates weren't right. We were talking about what they were trying to achieve, what they wanted to accomplish, and how we could get them there. We weren't sitting around talking around about Jerome Powell. That's for sure. That I can tell you that's the case. Right? And so I just wish that the industry would get off of being so absorbed with this silly number. Because then, and I had somebody ask me the other day, I was on a podcast and they were like, would you invest in a home again? Abso-freaking-lutely. If you look at all, okay, I've been around for a little, I got a little gray in my hair, I got a little silver and all the rest of it, right? Vince, you can see it.
Yeah.
I can tell you, my husband and I, if we're going to pick out what are our best investments,
real estate.
It's real estate. It hasn't always worked out. We bought at the height of the market in 2002, sold at the low of the market. We've done both. Still our best investment. And so when I hear these young guys and girls talking about like, oh, it's so much better to rent, I'm like, is it? Is it? Maybe just don't buy the house in the gated community. Maybe start with a starter home. That might be your answer. No, it doesn't come with granite countertops and a pool, but it's a home and it's a wealth builder.
No, it truly is. It truly is. Our tax code book is like 74,000 pages.
Yeah.
So like in like depreciating that asset, you get the tax. You get to write off the interest and you get to depreciate the asset.
What's interesting, Vince, and when you think about that 74,000, almost 99% of our borrowers, none of it applies to.
Probably, yeah.
None of it. Most of your borrowers are, the W-2 salaried guys. You have some that are self-employed like me, but still, okay. So maybe 300 pages applies to me. The rest of it all applies to people that I don't know. I don't have offshore tax shelters.
Yeah, people really just want to pull it up, honestly. It is what it is. It's built in it for loopholes. But going back to our podcast, what's the most courageous decision you've made recently, and how did it impact you?
So, can I talk about something personal?
Yeah, why not?
All right. So, this is something that has been really. So about 2 years ago, in fact, almost exactly 2 years ago, my father passed away, and it was really terrible. And my life and my world completely took a big, huge spin, because when somebody who is such a big part of your universe just is not there anymore, the world doesn't look right, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that my daddy asked me to do, I had gained a lot of weight. And so I made the decision and I lost 75 pounds. So we talked about the sad thing, but let me talk about the victory, right? I've lost 75 pounds. And if I'm going to say the most courageous thing that I have done is to just be okay with me. For the first time in a very, very long time, I feel like I'm okay with myself. And instead of always looking at myself and being down on myself, I'm a pretty successful girl, and I'm sitting here and just dogging myself out when, you know what? I did it. I freaking did it. So that was the thing. That was the most courageous thing that I've done. And I will tell you, it was intense.
It's a transformation, I would say.
I know. I had somebody look at me the other day, and Vince, I'm sorry that I'm doing this because it's like such a girl thing to do on your podcast, but I'm going to say I had a man who I've known for 15 years walk up to me and introduce himself to me.
That's hilarious.
It was fantastic.
You.
It was fantastic. What a win.
Yeah, no, talk about building up self-esteem. That literally is like a great booster.
It was really, really cool. And, I waited until I was in my 50s to finally do this for myself. I had built all of these companies and gained weight and done all of these things. And, you sit at the, when you're working hard, you're like grabbing a pizza or, grabbing something from McDonald's. And this time I did this for me.
Now, kudos to you for taking that initiative.
All right. So, and you were like, I didn't expect it to go in that direction, but it did.
No, health before wealth, Ruth. Health before wealth.
Amen, brother. My cardiologist high-fived me.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
Like I know.
Like the sitting in a hospital is not cheap at all. Those hospital bills are pretty pricey, I would say.
You were at the beginning of your career. I'm a little bit older and kind of looking towards the end of my career. And my husband and I, we just didn't want to, it's so easy to sit for 8 hours in this desk, right? I mean, it's so easy to get like mushroom butt and like just plant yourself onto this chair and just work. And when you feel like you need more business, it's easier to sit there and do it more and more and more and more. And the reality is that I think that it is counterintuitive. The more successful I am is when I spend the time and I go and I get my butt up and I go and walk to the mailbox, or I walk around the neighborhood, or I get up and I go and just not immerse myself in the problem. And the problem is this is my job, right? I mean, if there are no problems, we don't got a job. But sometimes you also have to like put your eyes on the horizon too.
Not totally. Eyes on the prize. And yeah, Ruth, you don't have to answer this, but like, how do you handle criticism or negative feedback about your work if it's ever occurred?
I'm a lot different now. I used to immediately get defensive because it always felt like it was just it was a criticism of my soul, because I also looked at my work as almost like it was a part of me. Right. And so, I would take it so darn personally. As I've gotten older and a little bit more gray, the way that I look at criticism is a gift. The reality, it doesn't matter what tone the person takes. I don't care because it's not about them. I look at it as a gift to myself because, again, it's always about challenging your assumptions, looking at that which is in your blind spot that, it's like, for example, you go into your living room and the only time you really see your living room is when guests are coming over and you're like, oh my gosh, how long has that dust bunny been there? And oh my gosh, has that been broken for that long? You know what I mean? And so, it's when somebody is coming or they are in your space that you really look at it in a very critical eye. And you're like, have I really been talking to people like that for a really, really long time? Maybe it's me. And instead of it being maybe it's them, now maybe it's me.
No, you have become more self-aware, I would say, more self-conscious with the lo-fi listening.
It's huge. And it's funny because in sales, all I'm doing is laser focused on what they want, right? I mean, if you could take that same type of power and turn it on yourself.
Hello.
I know, right? Think about that one. I mean, think about taking what you do on a daily basis and turning that into the conversation that you have in the morning with your own self. That's pretty cool and powerful.
No, it truly is. That's it's like unlocking your full potential. And in 2025, like who or what inspires you and influences you the most in your work?
I have a number of people who inspire me in my work. And, I think that what we're going to see in 2025 are some real leaders, because we're going to need some real leaders. I mean, we're starting to see the changes that are happening. They are not going to be inconsiderable. As I was writing a piece yesterday, which, despite the fact that we might not have a regulator, it's not like we're going to lose our investors who are still going to be securitizing all of those loans. We all know what compliance is. But it's going to take some really strong leadership this year. And throughout the industry, you have people who, they just have those type of voices that you really care about. Like, for example, there's a woman that I'm a CMB with that I think is just a rock star. Her name's Deb Jones. I'm really good buddies with Michael Hammond, and he and I do AI assessments together. I really value what he brings to the table. There's this gentleman who was brought into my universe last year, and he's a podcaster. His name is Jay Duran. I don't know if you've heard of him. He does The Culture Matters. But if you don't know him, Vince, you definitely need to meet him. I think that he is quite a thinker. And I really think that he is he's a deep thinking gentleman. And I think that it's really important, especially since we are being attacked on all sides with social media and negativity and all of the rest of it. All I can do is stay here. And I want for people who are really helping me, stay in my lane, rather than I can't be worried about what's happening in Ukraine. I just can't. It's a terrible thing. And there are people all over the world who are they will be going to be worried about Ukraine. I will include them in my prayers. But for me and my world, I have to stay here. Because if not, I'm just being distracted.
No, you're staying true to your vision, mission, and purpose. I completely understand.
I love that. Yeah. Because that's exactly right. My mission, vision, and purpose.
No, totally. I completely get it, Ruth. I completely get it. Just switching gears a little bit, like if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
John Adams.
Really? So he's one of the presidents, right?
John Adams, yes, president. And he was, so when I did my capstone, my thesis in college, I did it on, it was Southern political theory, but I did a comparison to John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. And if you know the three, so George Washington was the sword, Thomas Jefferson was the pen, because he wrote it all. And John Adams was the voice. And he was the debater who actually convinced everyone to get together, to find consensus and to do it. Because, whether it's a sword or a pen, those happen externally. When it gets really personal, that was the one. And so John Adams would be the one that I would choose. I debated all through college. And so I debated internationally on the world stage, and I really loved that. And because of that, John Adams has always been kind of my hero.
Nice. No.
You're like, and she's a nerd.
No, I mean, no, you're funny. No, John Adams was a good pick. The first time I ever heard that.
There's lots of people that I could pick, I wouldn't mind sitting down with the big JC. I mean, Jesus Christ would be an awesome one to sit down for a dinner with, wouldn't it?
Yeah, right. Just listen. I want to say he speaks in parables.
Yeah, so, he does. He apparently just speaks in parables.
I'm just saying. So, that I think that makes you feel like internal tension with it inside. So, like him doing that, like you kind of like he makes you think you came up with the idea when it was really him.
Well, and it's challenging, right? I mean, he challenges you. So that's been another part of my journey over the last couple of years since my father passed, which is really finding a relationship with God. And so this isn't what this is about, but you asked him, so I'm just going to tell you that's another one of my big challenges for 2025, which is, it's so easy to get distracted. I'm trying to pay attention to the things that matter.
No, good for you, Ruth. Good for you. I feel like you're now chasing fulfillment.
I am.
which
I
is
am.
which is
You
good.
know, I mean, I used to chase the big job. I used to chase the big check. I used to chase the big title. I've done that. I've done that, and
Been there,
and
done that.
it's I've done that, and think there are things that are more important to me.
What are some? What's like one of the biggest lessons or biggest success stories that really stick with you?
Oh gosh, that's a tough one. Do you want something that's more recent?
Whichever one really sticks.
So, because I fortunately I have had, back in the days when I originated, it was awesome because you get the kill, right? You get the fresh kill. And one of the fun parts, and this is the worst part about ever being a CEO or an owner and a non-producer, is that you don't get into the kill. So, that was really what I enjoyed. And then when I owned Titan, I was their revenue officer. And so I still got to sell. But recently, I was able to land a very, very nice engagement. And what I'm going to be helping them do is they're going from being a smaller organization to a much, much bigger organization. And I'm helping them do what this is like exactly what I was built to do. I have taken organizations from one person to 200 people. I have taken organizations from making negative dollars to making many dollars. And so I was really excited to land this deal this year. And I started January 1st, and I'm going to help them go. And it's going to be everything from thinking through their staffing to their technology to the whole thing. And it's kind of this great moment. And so have I won yet? No, but winning the opportunity I felt like was my win.
Yeah, that it gives you like an adrenaline rush. Like
It's a huge one, man. And I can't wait to see them freaking slay dragons.
you like I was a part of that.
I know.
You're one of the pieces to the puzzle. Nah, kudos to you. Kudos to you.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. And so, it is, I have other, major victories in my career. One of my favorite ones, and I always talk about this one, it was a very clear lesson in where you're building your business, how to focus. We built a data reconciliation platform. It had the ability to take data from a loan origination system, from a servicing system, from the MERS system. It could bump all that data up against each other, match it up, and fix it very easily. It was this really simple, straightforward thing. And the biggest, I think, win for me was that after that entire thing became stable, I think we had about 25 to 30% of all of the mortgages in the United States were running through it on a monthly basis. And we had half a person supporting it. And what it said is that if you build very smart, clean technology that don't hang all kinds of garbage all over it, you can have a winner. And that for me, it was my idea. It was my brainchild. I loved it. I worked with a couple of the women at the office who helped me see that to its full realization. We sold the heck out of it. And then I sold that company.
You had a successful exit.
Yes.
No, good for you.
That was really cool, man. I mean, it was my second one. Very, very different than the first one. But yeah, it was a good one.
No. Most people don't see the opportunity. You did. You got to see it twice. So not good. Yeah, power to you. Power to you. And what do you think when in your what do you think is the key to maintaining a work-life balance? How do you apply it in your life?
Choice. It is very and a lack of hubris. And I will tell you why. For many, many years, I was like, who are these people who take these 2-week vacations? Who are these people that have these lives that can? And then I took a 2-week vacation. And you know what I did? I trusted my team. I came back. Nobody was dead. Nobody, like the lights were all still on. People still had their jobs. And I had convinced myself for all of those years that unless I inserted myself into the process, that it wasn't going to get done right. And really what I was doing was telling my team that I don't trust you. And so what they did when I told them that I don't trust them is they acted like they weren't trustworthy. Why? Because I was the only person who needed to be trustworthy in the office. And so when you talk about work-life balance, what I would tell anybody who is really thinking of it is work-life balance is about your choices. You choose your hard. Do you choose the hard that is working for, through the whole time when your kids are having fun and you're missing all the stuff? Or do you work through the hard of trusting somebody that you've hired and trained and knows the job and being adult enough to not pick up the phone? That's hard too.
Yeah, that's literally building a culture right there, almost.
It is, but you choose your hard. And what I figured out is I chose the hard, which was to shut up, not insert myself unnecessarily in somebody else's victory. And I let them, you know what? It's so much cooler to be on a team of winners than on a team of one winner and everybody else is mediocre.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, building up, building up people. Yeah. What does Zig Ziglar say? Is like you can have everything you want as long as you hope everyone else achieve what they want, or something like that.
Well, and I don't know what that saying is, but I think you bring up a great point, which is, the easiest way that I found success was helping other people achieve a success, whether that was as an originator, whether that was as a boss, now as a consultant. When I help you achieve, guess who gets to achieve too? Me.
Yeah, you get to tag along for the ride too.
Me. So, yeah.
No, you're totally right. You're totally right. And what's the most challenging aspect of being in your role in 2025?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The most challenging aspect of being in your role?
Ooh. I guess the hardest part is that sometimes I have the answer and I know the answer, but they're not ready to get it yet. They're not ready to receive it. They're not ready to hear it. They're not ready to process what I am saying. They're not ready to meet me on the assumptions that I make. And so I give them the answer and then I wait patiently. And learning patience was a definite thing that I had to do as a consultant because I used to be a bull in a china shop. I'm like, I know the answer, do it. And now, and now I have to be like, I know the answer, guys. I'll give you a PowerPoint. I'll do a presentation next month on the same answer I gave you 2 months ago. Okay. Yeah. Mm-mm. And then 6 months later, I'm like, oh, what a great idea.
That's funny. I wonder where that came from. That's funny.
I don't know. Boy, did you come up with that all on yourself?
That's funny. You ever watch the Karate Kid? Was it when the student's ready to learn? That's when like you can teach.
When the student's ready to learn. And it's a very real lesson, which is, you have to meet your borrowers where they are. You have to meet your investors, et cetera. You have to meet people where they are, as opposed to thinking that the world's going to come to you. And I used to feel like the world was just going to come to me, and it doesn't. And so I had to really recalibrate the way that I consider my professional career into being radically accepting of other people, whether they don't know those answers, because the reality is that they don't know what HMDA means. They don't know what APR means.
They don't.
Why should they? Why should they?
You just want the keys to the house.
Right. They want the keys to the house. They want to, they don't know DTI, whatever. All of those things, that's not their job to know. And so it was really in my communication style, because sometimes I tend to use foofy words. I had to really figure out how to meet people where they are. And so, the person that I explained it to when I first became a loan officer, my dad. When I could sell my dad on a mortgage, my dad, who knew nothing, he was an engineer at Exxon. When he finally understood what the heck I was talking about, I knew that I knew what I was talking about. But, I role played with him for almost like a year, and I would call him up and I'd be like, Daddy, I don't know what this means. He's like, I don't know, baby. I don't know what it means either.
We can figure it out together. I love that.
But we're going to figure it out together.
What a good man.
Yeah, he was special. Yeah.
No, very super empathetic.
Yeah.
Super.
He was
And
my biggest fan.
yeah, no, number one raving fan. I love that. And yeah, Ruth, if you weren't in mortgages, like what path would you have liked to go on? Like,
I would have been an attorney. I would have been an attorney. And so my mom and dad, my mom's Mexican. She was a Mexican CPA. She came from South Texas. Her family has been in South Texas for generations and generations. But my mom was one of the first in her family to go to college. And so when I went to school, we didn't have a lot of money, right? I mean, I had my brothers, we were all going to school and stuff like that. And so I got a job right out of college working I got a job working on Wall Street, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever and that I had won. And so rather than going the path of law school, I was like, I'm successful and mommy and daddy can be happy and I'm so great. And as it turns out, I hated it. And I lasted a full 1, 2, 3 weeks. I hated it. It was in that whole post Michael Milken, greed is good. All the guys had their hair greased back with gel and they were all wearing little bow ties and suspenders. It was just a really ugly, ugly market. And what I determined is that I'm really meant for a life of service. And, I like being a servant. I enjoy that role in much more than it's about, let me figure out how I can kill my deals and make money. Because that's that market, right? I mean, and there's nothing to say that's a bad thing. They tell you that's what you're going there to do you're there to make money, period. And, all the ancillary benefit is that somebody else might make money too. In our world, you actually get to serve people and to see things that are really positive and wonderful happen. Someday I'll tell you about my very, very first loan. I mean, it was kind of everything that a loan officer would ever want in a loan in terms of making you go, yeah, I'm in the right place.
No, kudos to you. How'd you get your first loan? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this was Montgomery Ward's. It was one of their deals. And Mrs. McCannon was a 93-year-old woman. And, unfortunately, she had a row house in DC and she needed a new roof and she needed new windows and she needed some general home improvement work. But her kids had racked up all kinds of credit card debt and 2 cars and on and on and on. And so this woman, I walked into her house and she was eating cat food.
What?
Mm-hmm. And so I paid off all her debt. I stretched that sucker out for 30 years and people are like, how could you give a 93-year-old woman a 30-year note? I was like, I didn't give her a 30-year note. I gave her kids a 30-year note. I gave her cash flow.
Do you have a reverse mortgage or just a normal cash out?
They didn't have reverse mortgages at the time. I mean, this was in the early 90s, or maybe they did and I just didn't know about them. But at the end of the day, we paid off all of her debt. I came into her house. We cut up every single credit card. Her kids were very angry. They were like, how could you do this? I was like, when Mrs. McCannon passes, y'all just have to pay it off. But they didn't want to pay it off.
Yeah, right.
So at the end of the day, sometimes things that are counterintuitive to like traditional wisdom, what I did for her was I took her from eating cat food to having a very, very nice, comfortable retirement.
No, yeah. No, I'm sure like her kids now thank you for giving her that.
There are other examples where, that would be a terrible, terrible thing to do. But for her, and oh, by the way, it was a row house in DC. The kids were still going to slay like $500,000. And this was back in the early 90s, like $500,000 in equity. They were going to be fine. The $60,000 that I put on Mrs. McCannon for her first mortgage. I mean,
it is what it is. I'm sure she was tap dancing. There's no more cat food.
She called me for years. Vince, she called me for years. She called me when the Kirby vacuum cleaner guy came. She called me, her mortgage banker, to make the Kirby vacuum cleaner guy go away. She's like, Miss Ruth, would you talk to them? Because he doesn't seem to. And I'm like, she can't pick it up. She can't hold it. If you don't leave, I'm calling the police. And
Wow. That's hilarious. You were truly a trusted advisor.
Trusted advisor. And that's when I tell people, which is find your value. Find the value that you offer those borrowers because they're hungry for it. They want something more than, oh, I clicked and I saw something on Zillow, or I saw something on Rocket, or I saw something on, they see all of this stuff on the Super Bowl and stuff like that. And it's great. But, at the end of the day, all of those organizations have people that sell. A computer doesn't sell. A computer provides information. If they've already made their decision, then it was already decided. Right?
Very true. Very true.
You, as an originator, you provide value. Let me explain why this is good for you, why that is not a great idea for you. Maybe you don't want to do this and you do want to hack them.
Right now, yeah, you gotta paint the picture on the canvas. Gotta be the shepherd and guide the sheep of the lamb.
Well, and hopefully you were considering, in that very lovely way of being that leader, being that shepherd, because when the tables are reversed, your borrower who's a nurse, there will be times where she's the shepherd.
Trust you. You want a doctor that's going to tell you what to do.
Exactly. We are all in our own way and in our own space supposed to serve each other, and that's what I love about my industry. That's what I get at.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. And is there any piece of advice you wish you had received early in your career that could have changed your whole trajectory, been a catalyst?
Believe in yourself. The reality is that the world is not here to believe in you. Doesn't know you, never even heard of you. The only person that truly that can do it. People have asked over the years, how did you get into, you started your own business? Because I believed in myself. I'm okay with failing. Failing's part of it. You lose, you win, you lose, you get better. I can guarantee you that, those are the type of things that it's okay. And allowing myself the permission to fail, it's completely okay. Sometimes, especially for some of your team who are some of the originators who might be out there and going, it really feels like depressing. I'm struggling. My pipeline is bad. Go find one. Don't worry about, don't get on I'm going to go and send out 7,000 emails. I'm going to call and try to find one. Take control of yourself. Believe in yourself. Believe in the conversation that you're having. And don't think that it's not just a loan that is the win. It's a loan. It's a referral base. It's a something. It's a connection. Make a connection. And that's one of the things that I think that we as originators sometimes will do, is that we try to do things that we can control. I'm going to go to my CRM and I'm going to do my MailChimp, and I'm going to do my HubSpot, and I'm going to do my top 50 and 50, and I'm going to call 50 people today. Oh, great. All of those things are wonderful. Make a connection today. Try and make one connection. Tomorrow you'll have 2 connections. The day after that, you have 3. It's so amazing. And then you start to feel all of a sudden, I believe in myself, and it really just goes in the right direction.
No, truly. Yeah, it ends up compounding before you know it.
And then people are like, how did you get successful? Because I just put one foot in front of another. I made a whole lot of connections. And over that career, I had a lot of laughs too.
Rome wasn't built overnight. So yeah, brick by brick. And I forget, someone taught me a good acronym for FAIL, like for all information learned. So like failing is not like, you guys just still see it as like optimistic, because you do learn from it. Like if it was, you do learn from failure, I would say. So it's not a total loss.
I think that people, because I've known people who are deeply afraid of failure, and I run straight at it. I expect that I'm going to win some, lose some. I will tell you as well, and this is just the truth. Some of my biggest failures have turned into my biggest wins. I can't tell you how many times that if you have a problem file, going through the fight with that borrower, they know you. They experience you. They learn to trust you. The ones where you don't even remember their name, they might call you.
Not
But
very.
they don't remember going through the fight with you. You know what I mean? Like, they just remember it was oh yeah. Who was that lady? Oh yeah, she's kind of funny. Yeah. She's from Louisiana. Who? That's what they remember.
No, you're right though.
That's true.
After like 3 to 6 months, that's literally that's how they recall it.
One more thing that I can say, and I'll say this really, really fast, is the other thing is, if I could give anybody advice, and this I see originators do all the time, stop throwing your team under the bus. Bad things happen. It's the mortgage industry. It just happens. We have loans that, loans don't get approved, conditions get added, etc. But when you say that your team stinks, the underwriter stinks, the investor that you chose stinks, that your processor stinks, what you are telling them is that you're a bad decision maker and that they should not trust you again. So every single time, and I tell people this all the time, and I'm like, why? And then they'll come to me, and I'll be on the other side, and they're telling me how their underwriter stinks, or the settlement agent's a moron, or whatever. And I'm like, so you chose these people for me. Why?
No, you're right.
So that would be the other thing I say.
People need to take full accountability for all that.
Just at the end, solve the problem. Instead of marinating in it, just solve the problem. That's all they really want.
No, truly, yeah. Always find no excuses, only solutions.
Only solutions.
And I got 2 more questions for you before I let you go. One, I will rewatch this when I'm really old. So what's a life message you want to leave with me?
You should be very proud. You should be very proud of who you are today, because who you are today is just the seed of who you are going to be in that 20 years. And so as you look at yourself and you think back and you're sitting there and you're going, wow, I put myself out there. I asked people hard questions. I met people that I didn't even know before. And I changed people's lives. That's pretty freaking cool, Vince. Congratulations.
Thanks, Ruth. Thank you. Can't wait to replay that when I'm really old. And
right. Well, I mean, those are the type of things that when people say really nice things about me, I send them to my mom. see, they think I'm cool.
Yeah, right. And then they always throw some more wisdom that you should probably be learning.
But you are incubating who you are in 20 years today. How fun is that?
No, very true. Thank you for those words. I truly thank you.
All right, what's my last question?
Yeah. What legacy do you hope to leave behind through your work when it's all said and done?
I used to have this ideas that I would leave these giant big legacies, that I would start these giant companies, and people, I would be etched in the history books for business and things like that. And what I really want to leave behind, and the legacy that I leave, are all of the people that have worked for me. I love the fact that they were stronger, faster, and better when they left than when I got them. Each and every one, when I see them, and they're CEOs and COOs and chief compliance officers and general counsels, they are running their own mortgage companies, they're building their own FinTech. That is very meaningful for me. I don't want to leave behind a statue. I don't want to leave behind $1. In fact, if I can, if it's working properly, I will bounce my last check. But I don't have kids. But what I would say is that it's those individual people whose lives that I have helped in any way professionally become stronger. I had a guy who was a head of secondary who apparently I talked into becoming an originator. I didn't know that. He told me that he sold his house and he became an originator. Vince, I almost lost my mind. I was like, you did? I didn't tell you that. He's been wildly successful. But that wasn't what I told him to do. What I told him was to believe in himself and to reach for the brass ring. And he did. And that will always be meaningful for me. Forever.
Yeah, of course.
And his children. they will never even know my name.
Oh man, you're right on that. But I'm glad you keep that. I'm glad you keep that close to your heart.
Yeah.
Because you truly did change the trajectory of somebody.
Who knew? Who knew that I was talking him into becoming a salesperson?
Oh man, if only he knew the roller coaster that comes with it.
You know what? Believe in yourself. It's the roller coaster, but I mean, you can have a very, very steady income at 75, or you can have a roller coaster at 200. Okay.
Yeah, pick your challenge.
And I'm just picking those numbers. Those aren't the real numbers. I'm just picking them.
No, of course. No, Ruth, honestly, pleasure, honor to share time with you
What a
today.
great call, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciated this.
Yeah, no, so did I. I learned a lot, not just about AI, but also about life.
Yeah,
So,
we didn't talk as much about AI. We can talk about that some other time. If ever I can be of service to you, my dear, please always feel free to call me and I'll come back right on.
Thank you, Ruth. I'll definitely reach out in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, you just heard a queen representing the state of Colorado. Ruth, thank you so much for sharing your time with me today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Of course, Ruth. You enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
Bye-bye.